The Dragon District. A shady place for shady people, and exactly where all this started. Three strangers, Zarde Margolobos, Sakma Pelope Nani Egorothos, and Ghost, all awoke next to a massive hole spanning roughly a city block, with seemingly no bottom. After a daring escape from the approaching authorities with the help of Ghost's companion Cora, the three of them met with Alvin Bester, the leader of a nature preservation and reconstruction group known as the Naturalists. He is also the mentor to Ghost. Alvin set these men on the trail of Garen Mok, a drug lord that the Naturalists had been investigating with an informant who Ghost was meant to have met with in the bar that the three recently fled from. The three of them were joined by Cora and set out for the Silver Talon Inn and the illegal gladiator pit beneath it. Here they met Zip and Infernus, slave gladiators who were owned by Mok. The two of them were convinced to introduce our heroes to their boss, but things quickly turned sour. Sakuma attempted a clever ploy that backfired immediately, and they went from guests to captives. Garen Mok revealed that the informant Ghost was supposed to meet with had been caught, and the men that were supposed to spring a trap on him never returned, likely caught in the blast which caused the hole in the Dragon District. With the party helpless to stop it, Mok took his prisoners aboard his ship, and he left for undisclosed business. When the heroes awoke on the ship, they managed to free themselves using new, natural magical powers which were previously thought to be lost to the world. The gladiators Zip and Infernus arrived, having intended to free them with the hope that these adventurers might free them from slavery in exchange. The trio made their way to the helm of the ship and dispatched Garen Mok, quickly realizing the fighting they had believed to be a distraction their new gladiator friends had promised was actually a raid initiated by the Golden Guards, the order Sakuma trained under. Sakuma's mentor, Corvin Austin, entered the cabin to confront the drug lord, but found the boy he had raised instead. Their confrontation was cut short by an explosion as the gladiators destroyed the engines of the ship, causing a crash landing into the Diamond District and a quick exit of Corvin, as well as the rest of the Golden Guards. When the dust settled, however, the danger was not over. A Warforged warrior stood before them atop a pile of bodies. Upon laying eyes on Zarde Margolobos, he became agitated, claiming the Aarakocra was to blame for his appearance. Before the warrior could attack, two clawed fingers of the vampire, Silas Moss, destroyed the body's brain, ending the violence. Silas offered thanks for distracting the man and offered to pay them. Enter Karakarum, the Warforged barbarian. The newcomer claimed proof of his bounty's death and introduced himself. With his job done, he was free to act as he pleased. And given the fact that these strangers had just survived a crash landing while killing a drug lord, he was intrigued what other adventures they might get into. The group was now 7 strong, and while waiting for night to fall, the adventurers decided to take pleasure in the various delights of the Diamond District, namely, gambling. Zarde went ahead, taking advantage of being able to fly, and while the others were walking, they encountered a pack of lycanthropes attacking a were-tiger, Maria. With their intervention, Maria survived, also offering thanks in the form of payment. Their new acquaintance explained that it seemed the district had gone mad the night before. Lycanthropes left their tribes in droves to join the New Dusk, a fringe group of lycans that had somehow gained the ability to control feral vampires. The group took Maria to an old naturalist hideout to recover while they had a meeting with Silas and his father Varric, an ancient vampire who had been alive since before the terraforming of the world, which was meant to separate its people from rifts and other dangers caused by an ancient war with the Devil Lords. Varric requested that the heroes strike out and look into the dangerous New Dusk in return for a further reward. The party then met with the leader of the largest Lycan tribe, Arrhenius, who requested much of the same. The group split in two, with Cora, Zip, and Infernus seeking their own leads, while the others began at a warehouse where they were told Gorm, the leader of the New Dusk, had been spotted. The group was ambushed by a group of werebores, however, and quickly scared them off with their use of natural magic, but not before Sakuma and Zarde were turned into werebores themselves. During this battle, Kara received a summons from his patron through a sending stone built into his body and parted ways with the strangers. Our heroes chased after their attackers and found the New Dusk hideout, where Gorm resided alongside a surprising comrade, Nihilus Moss, Varric's younger son who had been thought dead for years. The party fled, recognizing they were outnumbered, and with hopes of warning Arrhenius and Varric of an impending attack. Upon returning to the Lycan tribe, they revealed a treacherous spy, Razhael, and set forth for the Moss Casino, intending to make their desperate stand against the attackers there. When the party told Varric of his son, though, they were sent away. Silas asked them to prove it was in fact Nihilus they saw by confirming his grave to be empty. The party returned with proof, and waited alongside their new allies for the battle to come. Late at night, when the moon was high in the sky, the battle began as lycans and vampires clashed over their ideology. One side wishing to maintain their existence in the shadow, minimalizing dangers to them by offering gold in exchange for blood in the case of vampires, while the lycans hid their true forms out in the open, and conquering their animalistic nature. The other wished for true freedom, to roam the streets openly without being scorned for their actions, both by the outside world as well as by their own kin. While the bulk of the fighting happened at the casino's entrance and in the streets, the leaders of the New Dusk infiltrated the office of Varric Moss. Our heroes rushed to his aid, but were too late, as Nihilus killed his father. Silas rushed in to face his brother, who was cut off from the party by the creeping shadow of the Nightmare, a Devil Lord in the modern day. Despite his powers of control, he was no match for the heroes, joined at the last minute by Kirakaren. When the shadows receded, they saw Silas on the back foot, losing the battle, and they leapt to his defense. Nihilus and Gorm fell at their hands, and all fell to their knees with exhaustion. The battle was over, and the leaders of the New Dusk let loose their last breath, free from the Nightmind's control. The party awoke in the morning, intending to move on quickly with the goal of meeting with Alvin Bester in the Gold District. To get there quicker, they planned to hire an airship in the Arrow District, but before they left, Sakuma and Zarde decided to seek further power from their lycanthropy, asking Arrhenius, a werebear, to attempt changing their curse. This gamble paid off for Sakuma, but Zarde fell victim to both curses, ultimately weakening him until he could get his hands on a moonlight fruit from the old world. With new powers and afflictions, the group set out. Before they could travel into the mountainous region of the Silver District, which would prove to be the majority of their journey's time, they stopped to stock up on mana to power the dream skimmers they were traveling on. At the inn they visited, Ghost met with the mysterious halfling, Trix, who disappeared while his back was turned. When the party reached the Magenta District, a mostly rural area, they decided to explore a bit while Cora went ahead with the gladiators, and through a string of bad luck, found themselves fleeing from the district with the corpse of a black market arms dealer. To dispose of the body, they set it alight with fire and tossed it out into the street. When Ghost looked back to see if they were being followed, he spotted a child being dragged off by a zombie amidst the confusion and turned the skimmer around to intervene. The party involved a mob into the fight with the zombie, saving the child, but when things settled down, the child had disappeared. They followed the track the zombie had originally made into the sewers and fought more undead before being confronted by a detective, Percy Dorez. To avoid a fight, the party agreed to go with the detective to the precinct for questioning, but not before walls of flesh filled the tunnels of the sewer, causing a close call. At the precinct, Percy attempted to question our heroes but was interrupted by his captain, who ordered for them to be arrested and executed. The party quickly acted to escape with no resistance by Percy, who feigned unconsciousness while slipping a note to Ghost, requesting his help in the case of missing children, as well as giving them a meeting point. Following their morals, the party met with the detective and heard him out, meeting his informant. The informant, a young Kalash star named Jack Darrington, fled while their backs were turned, and when they followed him, he disappeared. But they were led to his apartment, where his diaries spoke of abnormalities with the spirit he was linked to, as well as his new method of, quote-unquote, making friends, which consisted of killing people and turning them into zombies controlled by a wreath he would wear on his head. The party chased Jack into the sewers and confronted him with Percy. Just when it seemed they had gotten through to the boy and convinced him to cease his heinous actions, he seemed to go mad, ranting about his spirit and a coming threat. After dispatching the undead, which had not actually been under his control, but the control of the spirit he was linked to, as well as destroying the wreath, Percy placed Jack under arrest and sent the party on their way with his old sword, as well as a promise to push for a pardon for the assault in the precinct. Now having been informed about some coming danger, the party set off in a race to the Arrow District, where they hoped to reach Cora before she thought something had happened to them. What they found was an empty hideout and a note about a meeting with a ship captain. The party went about restocking on provisions and arming themselves as best as possible before investigating the inn where the meeting was supposed to take place. When they arrived, they found no sign of Cora or their gladiator friends, but the bartender was able to point them in the direction of the captain's dry dock. There, they found hostile air pirates who had been left behind by the rest of their crew to loot before their ship, Autopilot, took them back to their own dry dock. Our heroes hijacked this ship and snuck quietly into the pirates' hideout, where they freed their friends, the captain and his crew, as well as the crew of a merchant ship, which had also been captured. Without so much as a squeak, they managed to guide all of the hostages to their ships and escaped. The roar of ship engines was loud, however, and alerted the pirates to their escape. Shots were fired, but none of the escapees got so much as a scratch, and all seemed fine. That is, until Arcanus arrived. The king of the air pirates and devil lord of the skies. Arcanus bounded onto their ship with a single leap, and with only the flick of his wrists, unleashed a fireball powerful enough to down the merchant's airship. As the party stared him down, Arcanus laughed and claimed he would kill them until the ship's captain, Bronze, flipped the ship upside down, dropping him through the clouds. That night, as the party rested, a mysterious man with 3 red marks on his chin appeared to them, using blood magic to hold them in place. This man was the leader of the Red Tears of Joy, a legendary group of assassins who used the outlawed magic to complete their contracts. He warned them, even though they did not have a price on their heads yet, they surely would if they continued on the way they have, interfering in underworld affairs. When the sun rose, the assassin was nowhere to be found, and the tower of Valius Corpin laid before them on the horizon. Corpin, a powerful politician whom Alvin Bester had been in contact with, was who he believed was the party's best bet for reaching the old world after being caught up on the events of the Diamond District by Cora. Once docked, the party disembarked and were greeted by an unwelcoming sight: Corvin Austin. Austin did not attack, as he had no grounds on which to arrest the party on Corpin's property, but warned Sakuma of a shadow lurking in the world, and new dangers rising. Inside, Ghost, Sakuma, and Zarde met with Valius while the others waited on the ship. What seemed to be a pleasant meeting turned foul once all of the candidates were gathered in a conference room, where Valius poisoned everyone. At worst, the party members were stunned for a moment and watched in horror as the 3 other powerful adventurers who had not drank the wine were slaughtered in a matter of seconds by the power of Corpin, the Kalashtar, and his linked spirit, which revealed itself to be an ancient, eldritch being known as the Dreamer. Through various manners of warning the crew on the ship, the Gilded Wing were alerted to the danger and quickly undocked. Despite being fired at, they managed to free themselves and help their friends by providing a quick escape, aided by their cannon fire. Deciding to split up in hopes of confusing any tale they might have, the party went their own way to meet up with Alvin, while the crew of the ship sailed on. Upon returning to the company of Alvin Bester, the party requested his assistance in getting to the old world, believing there to be a reason Valius would want anyone capable of making their journey dead. Alvin pointed them in the direction of an entrance he knew of, and sent them on their way with a new companion, a cleric named Red Raven. Here they split with Cora and the gladiators once again, believing it best they stay behind. At the entrance to the old world, they encountered their first taste of the dangers they faced in an Umber Hulk and a swarm of giant fire beetles. Once past their first hurdle, it wasn't long until they spotted the massive vine which held a moonlight fruit. The fruit itself was guarded by plants corrupted and brought to life by the magical energies of the old world. But once the danger was past, Zarde ate the fruit and was cured while gaining new powers. The feeling of victory did not last, however, as Valius and a small army entered through the same way they had come, forcing the party to flee towards a castle ruin. There, they were caught between a rock and a hard place, as a swarm of skeletons blocked their path further into the town. To avoid them, our heroes climbed onto the ruined roofs of the castle town and fled in, but the skeletons would not abandon their prey so easily, as they followed them through town. When the party reached the castle courtyard, they were stopped before reaching the castle gate by a fireball, as Arcanus showed himself, claiming he had been looking for them, to kill them before the Dreamer can claim his power from them. His plan failed though, as Corpin and his army approached, and Arcanus told them to flee, facing the threat himself. Inside the castle, things did not seem to improve as they found 2 men inside of a strange magical bubble, as well as 2 skeletons seated beside them. One, a warforged, stepped forth, demanding they leave, and attacked when they claimed they couldn't. The battle only lasted a few seconds before the Warforged crumbled into rust. With their attacker dead, the other man beckoned them forth, bidding they enter the bubble. Inside, the man gave them a journal detailing his journeys with his 3 friends, and apologizing for the Warforged whose mind had been deteriorated to the point he couldn't do anything but protect him. When the battle outside started to spill into the castle itself, the man smiled, telling them his fight was ending here, while theirs was just beginning, and unleashing a bright flash of light which blinded the party. When they could see again, they were in a cell, but Kara was absent, and they were left with only a note. Sorry, but duty calls. Kara.